In the grand museum of human history, some halls are brightly lit. We know their stories, their kings, their wars, their triumphs. Egypt, with its god pharaohs and towering pyramids. Mesopotamia, the cradle of writing and law. Rome, the empire that shaped the Western world. But there is another hall, shrouded in shadow. A hall dedicated to a ghost. An empire that was, by every measure, their equal. A civilization that housed millions of people in meticulously planned cities, pioneered urban sanitation, and traded across continents. And then it vanished. This is not a myth, not a legend like Atlantis. This is the case file of the Indus Valley Civilization. For nearly 4,000 years, their story wasn't just forgotten, it was erased. Today, we reopen the coldest of cold cases. We will walk the streets of its silent cities, examine the clues left behind, and interrogate the suspects responsible for its demise. What happened to the people of the Indus Valley? How does a civilization of 5 million souls disappear from the face of the earth? Join us as we attempt to solve one of archaeology's greatest and most profound mysteries. Our investigation begins in 1856 in the sun-scorched plains of what is now Pakistan. British engineers laying tracks for a new railway needed ballast for the line. They found it in the form of strange, uniformly fired bricks dug from a series of mysterious mounds nearby. They crushed them by the thousands, unaware they were destroying the evidence of a lost world. They had stumbled upon the ruins of Harappa, one of the largest cities of the ancient world. But the true significance of this crime scene would remain buried for another 70 years. It wasn't until the 1920s that archaeologists formally opened the investigation, and what they found sent shockwaves through the world of history. Under the direction of archaeologist John Marshall, excavations at Harappa and a second, even more spectacular site called Mohenjo-Daro, the Mound of the Dead, revealed something impossible. Here, predating many of the glories of Egypt and Mesopotamia, was a fully developed urban civilization of staggering sophistication. This wasn't a collection of primitive villages. These were master-planned metropolises. The streets were laid out in a perfect grid system, like modern-day New York, oriented to catch the prevailing winds for natural air conditioning. The buildings were constructed from those standardized, fired bricks the railway builders had found, a testament to organized, centralized production. There were no grand palaces, no monumental temples to individual gods or kings, suggesting a more egalitarian society, one fundamentally different from its contemporaries. But the most mind-boggling discovery lay beneath the streets. Mohenjo-Daro featured the world's first known urban sanitation system. Nearly every house had its own bathroom and a connection to a complex covered drainage network that ran through the city. The Romans are famed for their aqueducts, but the people of the Indus were managing wastewater on a citywide scale 2,000 years before them. This was a civilization obsessed with water. Mohenjo-Daro's most iconic structure is the Great Bath, a massive watertight public pool built with breathtaking precision. Was it a temple? A public bathhouse? A site for ritual purification? The truth is, we don't know. Because this civilization, for all its genius, left us one crucial piece of missing evidence: a readable history. They had a written language. We see it on thousands of small soapstone seals carved with incredible artistry, depicting animals, both real and mythical, alongside lines of elegant, enigmatic symbols. Over 400 unique symbols have been identified, but not a single one has been deciphered. It is one of the great unsolved puzzles of linguistics. Without a Rosetta Stone, without a bilingual text to crack the code, their words are silent. Their seals are like photographs of a world we can see but not understand. We don't know what they called their cities, who their rulers were, what gods they worshipped. Their script is the silent witness to their story, a story we have to piece together from the physical evidence alone. Their influence was immense. The Indus Valley Civilization, at its peak, was the largest of the four great ancient civilizations, covering over 1 million square kilometers, an area larger than ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia combined. Their trade network was vast. Indus seals have been found in the ruins of Mesopotamian cities, proof of a thriving international commerce in timber, precious metals, and exotic beads. They were a people of peace and prosperity. Archaeologists have found very few weapons. Their cities lack defensive walls. For nearly 700 years, from 2600 to 1900 BCE, this civilization thrived in apparent stability. They were organized, advanced, and widespread. And then, around 1900 BCE, the system began to fail. The Great Decline had begun. And this is where our investigation truly deepens. We are about to enter the crime scene to analyze the clues of this civilization's final days. If you find this investigation as fascinating as we do, please take a moment to support our work. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next deep dive into history's greatest enigmas. When investigators arrive at a crime scene, they look for signs of struggle, for the story of what happened in the final moments. The final centuries of the Indus Valley tell such a story. It wasn't a sudden death, but a slow, agonizing decay. In the later layers of Mohenjo-Daro, the evidence is clear. The meticulous city planning breaks down. New houses are built hastily, encroaching on public streets. The complex drainage systems fall into disrepair, clogged with filth. The Great Bath is filled with rubbish. Craftsmanship declines. Pottery becomes simpler, cruder. The production of the iconic seals dwindles and then stops altogether. Trade with Mesopotamia ceases. The arteries of commerce were severed. The cities became overcrowded, unsanitary shadows of their former selves. It was a civilization turning in on itself, slowly suffocating. And then, the final blow. The cities were abandoned. The people who had inhabited this land for centuries walked away. The question is, why? To answer that, we must line up the suspects. For decades, this was the leading theory. Proposed by the archaeologist Mortimer Wheeler in the mid-20th century, it was a dramatic tale of conquest. Wheeler pointed to a few groups of skeletons found in awkward positions in the streets of Mohenjo-Daro as victims of a massacre. He linked this to the arrival of a new group of people in the region, the Indo-Aryans, who spoke an early form of Sanskrit and whose hymns, the Vedas, speak of conquering fortified cities. It was a tidy narrative, an old, decaying civilization swept away by vigorous, warlike nomads. The case, it seemed, was closed. But good detective work means re-examining the evidence. And under scrutiny, the invasion theory falls apart. First, the so-called massacre victims.
Later analysis showed that these 37 skeletons belonged to different time periods. There was no single violent event. Many showed signs of disease, not battle wounds. The crime scene was not a battlefield. Second, if a massive invasion occurred, there would be evidence of widespread burning, destruction, and layers of ash. There is no such evidence in any Indus city. The cities were not conquered, they were abandoned. The Aryan invasion theory, once the prime suspect, has been largely discredited. It was a false lead. So, if it wasn't murder, was it something else? Our investigation now turns to a culprit far more powerful and far more insidious. A killer that leaves no weapons, only a landscape of dust and despair.
This is our prime suspect, and the evidence against it is overwhelming. Gathered not just by archaeologists with shovels, but by paleoclimatologists drilling into ocean floors and Himalayan caves. The Indus civilization was a gift of the rivers, primarily the mighty Indus and another, even greater river known as the Ghaggar Hakra. Many scholars identify this lost river with the mythical Sarasvati, celebrated in the ancient Vedas as a life-giving mother. For centuries, these rivers, fed by Himalayan glaciers and a predictable monsoon season, provided the water needed for agriculture, sustaining millions. But the climate is not static. It changes. And around 4,000 years ago, it changed dramatically. Scientists studying sediment cores from the Arabian Sea have discovered that the reliable summer monsoons, the lifeblood of the subcontinent, began to weaken. They became erratic, unpredictable. This led to prolonged, devastating droughts. The very foundation of the Indus agricultural economy, the ability to grow surplus food, crumbled. The evidence for the drying of the Ghaggar Hakra, the Sarasvati, is even more damning. Satellite imagery and geological surveys have traced the course of this once mighty river. They have also shown how, due to tectonic shifts and the changing climate, the rivers that fed it were diverted to the Ganges and Indus systems. The Sarasvati was starved of its water source. The river that had nurtured their civilization for centuries dried up and vanished into the desert. Over 1,000 Harappan settlements have been found along the dry bed of this ghost river. Its death would have been an unimaginable catastrophe. But nature's assault came from two directions. While some areas suffered drought, others were hit by catastrophic floods. Evidence from sites near the coast shows thick layers of silt, indicating massive, city-destroying inundations, possibly caused by tectonic uplift that dammed the Indus River. Imagine the scenario. Your fields are turning to dust from drought. Your great river is shrinking before your eyes. And then, without warning, a flood of biblical proportions wipes your city off the map. This was the 1-2 punch of a climate in chaos. The case against climate change is strong. It explains the gradual decline, the abandonment of cities, and the migration of people. But in a complex case like this, there is rarely a single culprit. We must consider the accomplices.
Could the civilization have been rotting from within? Some theories suggest that the collapse of trade with Mesopotamia sent a fatal shock through their economy. Others propose that deforestation, A consequence of firing billions of bricks for their cities led to ecological collapse. Another frightening possibility is disease. In the overcrowded, unsanitary conditions of the declining cities, epidemics like cholera or tuberculosis could have run rampant, decimating the population. Evidence of leprosy has been found in some of the skeletons. A population weakened by famine would have been a perfect breeding ground for a pandemic. The truth is likely a combination of all these factors, a perfect storm of catastrophe. Climate change was the primary driver, the catalyst. It weakened the civilization, leaving it vulnerable to disease, economic collapse, and social unrest. It was a domino effect, a slow-motion systems collapse that took centuries to play out.
After reviewing all the evidence, the verdict becomes clear. The Indus Valley Civilization was not murdered by invaders. It was a victim of a profound and irreversible climate shift, aided and abetted by internal decay. It died a slow death, choked by drought, drowned by floods, and starved of the resources that had made it great. Its people didn't simply lie down and die. They adapted. The evidence shows a massive migration away from the drying heartland of the Gagar Hakra. People moved east towards the more fertile Ganges Valley and south into Gujarat. The great cities were abandoned, but the people survived, breaking up into smaller, more localized agricultural communities. And this is where the final, astonishing twist in this case is revealed. The Indus Valley Civilization did not truly vanish. Its legacy is all around us. They became ghosts, but ghosts that haunt the very DNA of modern India. Their technologies, like advanced farming techniques and bullock carts, continued. Their artistic motifs and religious symbols resurfaced in later Indian cultures. Some of the seals from Mohenjo-daro depict a figure seated in a yoga-like posture, surrounded by animals. Many scholars believe this is a prototype of the Hindu god Shiva, the lord of the beasts. The reverence for water, so central to the Great Bath, remains a core part of religious practice in Hinduism today. The seeds of later Indian philosophy, religion, and culture may well have been planted in the fertile silt of the Indus Valley. So, the people dissolved, but their ideas endured, blending with those of newcomers to create the rich, complex tapestry of civilization that would follow.
We began this investigation with a question. How can a great civilization vanish? The answer we found is perhaps more chilling than any tale of conquest. It can be undone by the very environment that nurtured it. The story of the Indus Valley is a 4,000-year-old warning, etched in dust and brick. It is a testament to the fragility of even the most sophisticated societies in the face of a changing planet. The case of the civilization that vanished is, for the most part, closed. Yet one great mystery remains. Locked away in those silent, beautiful symbols is their true story, in their own words. And until the day we finally crack the code, the ghost of the Indus Valley will continue to whisper its secrets to the wind, waiting for the rest of the world to learn how to listen. What do you think is the most compelling reason for their collapse? Was it the climate? Or do you believe there's another piece of the puzzle we're missing? Let us know your theories in the comments below. We read every one. And if you enjoy solving the great mysteries of the past, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more journeys into history's forgotten chapters. Thank you for watching.